Call of Duty Black Ops 4 now has microtransactions. And I say that it has microtransactions now because when it launched, it didn't have them. And the reason that microtransactions weren't present at launch wasn't even a case of it not being finished in time. And the line, "our game isn't ready yet, but we're going to go ahead and release it anyway," isn't even controversial enough to catch the press's attention these days. So they go ahead and use it because we let them. But the reason that they're using that excuse is to mask the real reason why they're actually doing it, which is much, much worse. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 launched without microtransactions because Activision found a way to game the system to avoid the huge issue that they're facing. In the wake of the Battlefront 2 loot box controversy and an increasingly hostile consumer environment, huge gaming corporations like Activision are finding it increasingly more difficult to avoid backlash when they try and implement their questionable money-making systems. But this is an evil genius move that Activision have played here. Activision avoided most of the backlash towards their microtransaction monetization model in Black Ops 4 by providing the reviewers a copy of the game which included no microtransactions. If the reviewers can't see the microtransactions, then they can't discuss them in their reviews. That means the consumers don't talk about what issues these microtransactions are causing, and the review scores are pretty much unaffected. But once the ink has dried on those reviews, they're free to implement any monetization or microtransaction model that they want, relatively backlash free. Because how often does a game get re-reviewed? Not very often. How often does a game's review get updated? Again, not very often. And these days, with games changing all the time, content being added all the time, updates, fixes, patches and all of that, games are very rarely in the same state they were at launch. So maybe reviews should get updated. Maybe we should re-review games more. But lo and behold, they don't. And even if they did, it probably wouldn't matter. And this is the weakness in the system that Activision have exploited here. So if you read any random review of Black Ops 4 right now, the chances are it won't even mention microtransactions. And the chances are that it won't mention that Activision have decided to sell a red dot for $1. I shit you not, a fucking red dot for $1. Try taking that idea to India, see how far that gets you. Is that a racially insensitive joke? Is that what it is? I mean, I come from Wales, right? And people call me a sheepshagger all the time. I mean, that's got to be racially insensitive, right? I mean, it doesn't bother me so much, but my wife Mary doesn't like it. I feel sorry for my kids, Barbara and Ewan. That was a joke, so please don't get offended. It was a joke, okay? Joke. It's in context, right? It's just a fucking joke. Jokes are supposed to be funny for the purpose of making you laugh. If you didn't laugh, that's fine. Don't get fucking offended by it. Don't get offended on someone else's behalf either. But in all seriousness, how much effort has that programmer gone to in order to make that red dot? I mean, is it really give you $1's worth of gameplay? Is it worth $1? Really? So getting around this backlash is what these high-up corporate types call adapting to market conditions. They see the problem, which is consumer backlash, and they're finding their own way of circumventing it. And you can absolutely guarantee that at some point they sat in their executive boardroom meeting and posed the question, what measures can we take to reduce or minimize the loss of revenue caused by negative press or consumer backlash? Guaranteed. It's almost like an arms race at this point, or a race for power, the corporations versus the consumers. Corporations have realized by now that people who rally together and rise up against this type of thing actually have some real power. Consumers have found a way of hurting the corporations by mobilizing together and calling out the behavior that they don't like as a group. Loot boxes and microtransactions ruin our games. Reddit posts with those titles garner thousands and thousands of upvotes and support. Expose YouTube videos with those titles get hundreds and thousands of views. Social media mobilization on that scale makes headlines, and those headlines hurt sales and hurt a company's reputation. Because that then affects the investor confidence, and that's what this whole thing is about. Because when the share prices fall, it affects the company's net worth and it hits them right where it hurts the most. in the wallet. And that's when heads start to roll. And we've seen that recently with Activision Blizzard. So in their terms, a consumer has too much power now. So they've adapted, and that's what this is. They've taken away some of the power that we had, which was the timing of our descent, which more often than not reaches a crescendo at the game's launch. That's when people give a shit about the game. 2 weeks later, and there's another dozen games to play, maybe. Like, nobody cares by then. All they have to do is avoid the controversy long enough around launch time so that the eye of Sauron is looking elsewhere, so that they can crawl out from whatever hole they've been hunkered down in relatively unscathed. Their solution to this problem is actually pretty genius. Yeah, they're still evil. I'm not taking that away, but it's still quite genius. And some of you might not like me characterizing them as the evil genius, but to not do so kind of undervalues them, underestimates them, and underestimate them at your peril. To deny that they have the capacity for intelligence, despite their apparent lack of morals, is probably a mistake. Avoid the backlash, avoid the controversy. That's what they've done. That's just one other example of these big corporations getting a little bit trickier. Now it's time for us to adapt again, like any good arms race. It's time for us to come up with a new strategy to stop them from perpetuating this practice. Like 20 years ago, you'd pay full price for a game and you'd get the whole game. You would no microtransactions, no day one patch, no added extras, no catch, just the game. Because the internet couldn't facilitate all these updates and stuff like that. It just wasn't practical. The internet just wasn't there. The internet has made the industry very, very convenient. I mean, it's undoubted that it's contributed to the growth of the industry, but it's also allowed these corporations to explore their own greed. And so slicing off content from a game, repackaging it and monetizing it is just one of the ways that they're doing that. And I'm not saying that there isn't a good way to monetize additional content from a game. There definitely is. But you're paying $1 for a red dot. I mean, really? They've systematically eroded the standards in the industry piece by piece. And now we have a new generation of gamers emerging from playing Fortnite or Minecraft or whatever other games that they cut their teeth playing. And these gamers don't know any better. Microtransactions are just part of gaming. That's just all they've ever known. Microtransactions are fine so long as they don't affect gameplay. They're fine, honestly, they're fine. They're fine. They are really not fine, guys. They are not fine. And if you're using this line of speech, all you're doing is justifying the corporate greed. Yeah, okay, maybe they need to make more money off the games these days because they're just so expensive to make because of all the technology that goes into them. It just takes so long to make, all these wages that got to pay. Maybe that is the case, but where does it say that? Where's the proof? How much does these games cost to make? Why didn't they tell us that? Why don't they explain that to us with actual facts? Like, where's the facts? Where's the research? Where's the actual evidence of that? I mean, all I see is YouTube videos and people like Jason Schreier saying that kind of shit. Like, there's no, like, where is it? There's nothing you can point to say, there it is. It's just people talking. Or maybe it's just the fact that Bobby Kotick takes home tens of millions of dollars every single year. Just saying. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I don't say that I do, but what I'm left with is a load of questions. Questions like, why do we keep buying these games? And by we, I mean you, because I don't buy these fucking games. I don't go anywhere near anything that has a microtransaction in it. I'm not a fucking idiot. How is a red dot worth $1? And why can't they use cheat codes like they used to and give players an actual choice and not just the players who hate money? Why do people ignore this stuff and act like it's not a problem? Why can't we have a rational conversation about this without all the toxicity and all the hatred and all the malice and all that nonsense? Because all that does is it characterizes you as a hater and makes it easier for them to just point at you and say, look, that guy hates us. He's got no valid points whatsoever. Maybe you do, but when you package it in this vile, putrid ball of hatred, I said hatred enough. When you package it like that, people can discount you easy. You're a straw man. They build you up and they're like, look, that guy's a hater. We need to stop doing that. We need to have a proper, reasoned conversation. And the final question I've got is, how else do we stop these practices than to publicly shame the people who buy into these bullshit economies? All right, public shaming might be going a little bit too far. And don't misrepresent what I mean by that. I don't mean being toxic and calling them out and telling them that you hate their mothers or you're going to do awful things to them. That shit should never be anywhere near anything. But you can just say, look, that guy's bought Call of Duty. What a fucking Or like the olden days, they used to stick people in stocks and throw rotten vegetables at them. Maybe that'd teach them a bloody thing or two. It won't hurt them, they'll be fine. Well, it might hurt their feelings, but fuck it, they deserve it. So that's it, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider supporting this channel on Patreon using my Patreon link. That's just down in the description of this video. Patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Or any other way that you want to support the channel, you can subscribe on YouTube, you can follow us on Twitter, or you can like the video, that helps too. Anything that contributes for us spreading this message, which is, yeah, this is bullshit, let's do something about it. That's it, I'm going to stop talking now. I'll see you again in the next video. Until then, bye for now.